You work hard. You save money. You plan for the future. Yet somehow, year after year, life feels more expensive and your money feels weaker. Groceries cost more. Rent goes up. Healthcare drains savings. And despite earning the same, or even more, you feel poorer than before. This isn't bad luck, it isn't poor budgeting. It's inflation, and it's stealing your wealth every single day, quietly and relentlessly. Inflation is often described as a small, manageable increase in prices. Something normal. Something harmless. But the truth is far more dangerous. Inflation is a silent tax that never stops collecting. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask permission. And it affects everyone, especially those who rely on salaries and savings. In this video, we'll break down how inflation really works, why it's so destructive, and how it slowly drains your wealth without you even noticing. Before we continue, if you want more content that exposes hidden financial realities, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. How inflation quietly steals your wealth. 1. Inflation slowly destroys your purchasing power. Inflation doesn't steal your money outright, it quietly erodes its value over time. Every year, the same amount buys less, whether it's groceries, fuel, or rent. Even small annual increases, compounded over decades, can drastically reduce what your money can actually purchase. What once comfortably covered a month of expenses may now barely last a few weeks. This insidious effect forces people to work harder just to maintain their standard of living, turning financial stability into a constant struggle. Over time, the dream of building wealth becomes a battle to simply keep up. 2. Savings are punished for standing still. While keeping money in a savings account feels safe, inflation quietly undermines it. If the interest earned is lower than the inflation rate, your balance effectively loses value every day. Over years, disciplined savers can see decades of careful planning wiped away without touching a dime. This phenomenon discourages traditional saving habits, making people feel punished for being financially responsible. Inflation turns the very act of saving, a habit meant to secure your future, into a losing game unless you actively invest or grow your money elsewhere. 3. The middle class bears the heaviest burden. Wealthy individuals often protect themselves with investments, assets, and property that appreciate with inflation. Lower-income households may benefit from government aid or subsidies. But the middle class, earning enough to be self-reliant but not enough to leverage inflation-proof assets, bears the brunt. Rising costs of living hit their budgets hardest. With fixed incomes and limited room to cut expenses, even minor price hikes can push middle-class families closer to financial insecurity. Over time, this pressure can slowly erode the stability that people worked decades to achieve. 4. Wage growth can't keep up with rising costs. Wages rarely keep pace with inflation. Raises often come late, promotions are limited, and many salaries remain stagnant for years. By the time income increases, prices have already climbed even higher. This gap forces families to rely on credit cards, loans, or dipping into savings just to maintain basic living standards. The mismatch between earnings and expenses creates a continuous financial strain, making it feel like no matter how hard you work, you're always a step behind. 5. Inflation turns debt into a long-term trap. Rising inflation often prompts central banks to increase interest rates, making borrowing more expensive. Mortgages, loans, and credit card payments swell, turning previously manageable debts into major financial burdens. Inflation doesn't just raise the cost of goods, it amplifies the strain on every aspect of personal finance. Borrowers end up paying more over time, trapping them in cycles of debt and leaving little room for saving or investment. This effect can haunt families for years, long after the inflation period ends. 6. Essentials become increasingly unaffordable. Inflation tends to hit necessities the hardest. Items like food, rent, healthcare, utilities, transportation, and education rise faster than non-essential goods. Unlike luxury items, these are unavoidable costs. Families may be forced to downgrade their lifestyles, not by choice, but by necessity. Everyday life becomes a constant negotiation between wants and needs, and quality of life quietly diminishes as households stretch every dollar to cover the basics. Over time, even small increases in essentials can compound into significant financial stress. 7. Inflation destroys. Long-term financial planning. Predictable financial planning becomes nearly impossible in times of high or erratic inflation. Retirement contributions may be reduced, investments delayed, and emergency funds depleted just to cover rising costs. Families shift their focus from building wealth to managing day-to-day survival. This disruption doesn't just affect finances, it erodes confidence in the future. Dreams like homeownership, education, or early retirement become harder to achieve, and the psychological toll of financial uncertainty adds to the stress of inflation. 8. It creates the illusion of economic progress. On paper, inflation can disguise real economic problems. Salaries may increase, GDP may grow, and markets may appear strong. But if inflation outpaces these gains, the perception of growth is misleading. People may feel busier and financially stretched despite progress. Inflation can make households work harder for less real value, creating a dangerous illusion of economic stability while the population quietly loses purchasing power and financial security. Inflation is not just an economic trend, it is a silent force that reshapes lives over time. It weakens savings, erodes wages, increases debt, and quietly lowers living standards without dramatic warning signs. Most people don't notice the damage day by day. They only feel it years later, when financial goals feel out of reach and progress feels impossible despite constant effort. What makes inflation especially dangerous is how normalized it has become. Rising prices are treated as inevitable, even acceptable, while the long-term consequences are ignored. But when inflation persists, it changes behavior, increases inequality, and destabilizes entire societies. The middle class shrinks, trust in institutions erodes, and financial anxiety becomes a permanent condition. Inflation doesn't steal wealth in one dramatic moment, it takes it slowly, consistently, and quietly. And by the time its impact is fully understood, the cost has already been paid. Awareness is the first line of defense. The more clearly people understand how inflation works, the better prepared they are to protect themselves in a world where money loses value faster than promises are kept. Understanding inflation is the first step toward defending yourself against it. The more aware you are, the harder it becomes for this silent thief to operate unnoticed. In a world where prices rise faster than promises, knowledge becomes one of the most powerful tools you have. If this video helped you see inflation differently, share it with someone who still believes saving cash is enough. Like the video, subscribe for more deep financial breakdowns, and comment below. Do you think inflation is temporary, or is this the new normal?